Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some more Warpforge as we continue our quest to refine the new Tau builds with the new reinforcements. And although I think this is definitely going to require some more testing, and we're just going to hop on ladder and do some live games with Warshaper, I definitely wanted to put something out on the channel for those who are really hyped for him or like really love that aggressive play style. And it is kind of the sensation of the reinforcement package, although I think the drama kind of swings the other way, which is that a lot of questions around: is Warshaper playable? Is it viable? Is it good? You know, that was a question that I got a lot on stream the other day. So for those who haven't seen Warshaper yet, you know, maybe even returning to the game, I've definitely seen a lot of people say that when Tau were super powerful and then got nerfed immediately. But it's for first 30 health Warlord, definitely something that all of us were kind of wondering if it would be good. Grizzly Feet, I think, is a good talent, but I do think it is overcosted. And I think if this cost 1, it would not be out of the question. Because then it's basically what Anva is doing, right? Giving +1 health to adjacent units. Except this counts all units, so yes, there might be a little bit more power there when you have more than 2 units on the board. And then the +1 melee is only temporary. And I think this being 2 is definitely going to hamper the power level of this deck. But before I get too carried away, that's what Warshaper does. That's, you know, we're definitely looking to do something, I would say, relatively aggressive with him. And just want to shout out all the folks who stopped by the stream yesterday. Definitely going to try and do some more streaming as the drops are live. So get your free 6-packs of Tau by just watching, you know, any content creators, or I know there's like bots that do it too. I would encourage content creators if you can, and feel free to stop by my stream. We're now streaming on YouTube and on Twitch, which has been a blast, and definitely trying to get some videos out as well. So appreciate all the support as always. Feel free to like and follow on Twitch, like here, subscribe here. That's all free and really supports the channel. So thanks so much for that. My impressions of Tau so far is that I think they are definitely competitive, and I went on a pretty good tear on stream going 7-2 the other day. And the losses felt pretty close. That was with my Anva deck. Then I did some testing with Warshaper, mostly in unranked, and I would say like most of the games were competitive. There were like 1 or 2 games where it was clear, you know, someone who probably didn't have a full collection. So I don't really want to count that in the testing. But I can see a world in which Warshaper is able to win. So I'll kind of leave it at that before I get to jabbering too much about everything. So let's take a look at the build. So again, like when I was looking at this on paper, you know, before we had access to the cards and looking at the reinforcement, pretty much wanted to jam the best infantry units, Devilfish, all the good stuff, all the good legendaries, and then kind of go from there. So no surprise to see the choice legendaries for the greater good kind of works very well with this type of strategy, right? You're trying to set up like an infantry board and then kind of through 1 or 2 big swings really take back the advantage because you are so low health as a warlord. So for the greater good really helps you to do that. Obviously, emergency dispensation. This is our way to compete with, you know, all the mana cheating that Ultramarines have. So if we see dispensation and they don't see their mana cheats, or vice versa, this definitely gives us a better shot at competing with their threats, especially Predator. And then the other legendaries, Long Strike, just again, like this kills Predator, kills some of the most important threats in the format. So Long Strike is going to be your best friend. And then Anshi, of course, as like probably one of the best infantry units, and being able to land this and keep it alive just nets you so much value. Same thing with Honored Ethereal, but I would say to a lesser extent. I will say though, Honored Ethereal can kind of pull its weight when you have things like Crude Hound, which is one of the newer cards to the reinforcement. Place these down, they have to attack them to maybe get to you, to maybe get to the Honored Ethereal. So there is some value, some synergy, I should say, with some of these newer cards. So Crude Hound is one of the newer ones. I've generally been a little underwhelmed by this card, but in this deck, this deck should take the most advantage of it. And giving this flank off of Devilfish is probably one of the better things you can be doing. And I did want to try, running 2 of that and kind of go through there. So let's take a look at some of the new cards and why we would run infantry with Warshaper. Because Warshaper's ability only applies +1 melee and +1 health to infantry units. So we're going to have very few non-infantry, but I would say the non-infantry slots still synergize with our overall game plan. Crude Carnivore, a lot of people have called for buff on this card, even just giving it 2 health, so you have to trade your health with this card, even though it's replacing itself. It would definitely make it more powerful. And I say that because, kind of what Madriel Galen does, with one of my favorite aggro tempo warlords for Eldar, is kind of make you trade an attack and then a potential second attack to get rid of the stone, but you're trading 1 damage on that little troop. And it's the same thing with this, except Carnivore is not also leaving a resource behind. So it does make sense that a good buff to this would just be make it a 3/2/2. So yes, okay, you play this on turn 3, or rather 4 as of right now, give it an extra health. Oh, this is kind of like a real unit, right? It becomes a 3/2/3 permanently until they kill it. And I just think this would mean that your opponent has to trade a little bit more health in the early game, and that would make Warshaper a little bit more potent as an aggro warlord. So I think that's a really easy buff, just +1 ranged, and just to give a little bit more of a punishment to playing this early. And it replaces itself, so I think 1 has been good. That was a suggestion from Slither as well, and I think that's probably correct. I don't think you need 2 of the card. Pathfinder, one of the better infantry units as well, still just gives you a bunch of value. You're usually going to play this on 4. You're usually not going to play it any earlier, but it can be quite potent when you need it to be. So, and having the marker light can come in handy. Pulse Onslaught was a card that I added to the deck after testing on stream the other day. It just felt like there were quite a few situations where we could get our opponent fairly low after like a nice swing or like a nice setup turn. And then really all we needed was like a little bit more of reach, right? And so I also think about like mono red and aggressive decks in Magic the Gathering, paying 2 energy or 2 mana for 3 damage is kind of like an industry standard, like fine card. It's not going to, always allow you to end the game. It's not the most busted spell or stratagem in this case in your deck, but it is going to give you enough reach where you might be able to set up lethal when your opponents are not really factoring it in. So we're actually going to be playing with it today for the first time. Stealth Drone, obviously not an infantry unit, but it just synergizes with what you're trying to do, which is set up a board. And one of the best plays being able to go Stealth Drone into your Devilfish so that you can set up the rest of your game plan is just really powerful. So I think that earns its spot. Crude Hound, like I said, still feels like a little underwhelming, but it's a little bit more threatening in this build than Anva, I would say. Trail Shaper, definitely not nearly as busted as I first thought. At least in this shell. I haven't really tried it in other builds yet. Really good when it does its thing, but it can be a little awkward curving out with it. But I still think 1 Trail Shaper is kind of perfect for the deck. We've got Vespid Stingwings, obviously one of the better infantry units as well. Trying 1 Fire Warrior Marksman. Obviously, you're not going to play this on 4 because you're either going to give it stealth or you're going to give it flank. So you're going to play this after you've played your Devilfish, or you're going to play this with your Stealth Drone. So 6 or on 7 energy at some point. So I felt it was a little clunky having 2 of these. I often didn't just want to run them out. And I think you need to be curving out with this deck. So I think 1 is nice, like the long range, and the marker light 2 to put on their Warlord at a certain point in the game can actually be quite a big swing. So I think 1 slot for this guy has felt right. Talked about the Ethereal. Krutox Rider, can't talk this card up enough. Like, again, it's just a bit more aggressive. Its stats are really nice. It's not hard to get this thing to 6 health. And I just have continued to be impressed with it. I just feel like it's always doing work whenever I'm playing it. So I really love that card. Firestart Marksman, I think, actually does quite a bit in this build, being a little bit more infantry slanted. So I've been happy with that. Flesh Shaper, same thing. I just think although this, to take a second to talk about Fleshaper, it does feel like a win more card a good portion of the time. But then there are certain board states where, yes, they kill this, but you've gotten a little bit of value. Now your Warlord punches for 3 or punches for 4. And I just do feel like it's another threat that your opponent has to work around. And generally, especially in a curve out deck, if you're ever able to set up a little bit of a board into this guy, I really do think that it can kind of change the tempo of the game. So I've been pretty happy to play it. Anshi, absolute all-star. Krutox Rampager, speaking of all-stars, this thing is just the Predator Muncher, the Predator Killer, whatever lovely nickname you have to take on the Ultramarines. And it's so efficient, and it just does exactly what you need it to do. Speaking of Lone Spear, same thing. In certain board states, it can be awkward. Frank Knight, who's another excellent player and often stops by my streams, which is wonderful. Was talking, it should probably just be 778. I think with the way that some of the bigger threats are statted, I honestly would support that. I still think the card pulls its weight no matter what. Sometimes it's awkward, but you can put stealth on it. Obviously, you can give it flank off of your own Devilfish to guarantee it when you're ahead and pushing your advantage, but it is quite the threat. And then Long Strike, and that's the deck. So let's just get into some games, and you all can kind of judge for yourself, what feels weak, what feels good. I think to make a comparison, I feel like it's kind of like Anva is like Swarmlord, and Warshaper is kind of like It's kind of like Terror. So it's like Swarmlord's going to be more consistent, but won't win into certain matchups. And then, Tervigon, keep saying that, Terror, because there's a lot of T's. Terror can have certain good matchups. Speaking of, we're playing against Ultramarines, so I'm pretty happy to keep a Rampager, but I'm going to throw the rest back. It just feels like this deck will probably have some really good matchups, and then against a lot of the field it won't, and it may just not be as consistent. Or I would say it's fair to say it's probably not. Also, I do love the voice lines, I'm not going to lie, so I'll try not to talk too much. So generally, just against Ultramarines, and I played this matchup a couple times against Calypso. Shout out to them. They did some testing with me yesterday. And obviously, if I have nothing to do, I'm just going to attack for 3, and I effectively take 1 because I've gained health. And then hopefully we're able to curve out. This hand is a little awkward, but having the Rampager to answer some sort of early, threat or predator or what have you is pretty good. Lone Spear, I usually do want to see this, but it sucks that we don't have a 3-drop. So I'm hoping that we could draw one. All right, so just classic starter turn, and there we go. Speak and it shall be answered, or whatever. And we're just going to hit face. We're going to play out our Crude Hounds, and then next turn, we actually could go like Hidden Hunters into our ability, but I'm imagining that they're going to maybe play out a flanker here, so playing out the Krutox Rider should be pretty good. So yeah, how competitive this Warlord is, I think it needs to kind of prove itself. Okay, and that's a slower turn from our opponent, so we actually could consider going Hidden Hunters Grizzly Feast. The thing is, with Hidden Hunters, we'd be hiding it for a turn, but it's not going to really do that much. Although we can buff them and try and then play Crude Hounds and buff them again. That would be a pretty decent line. Let's try it. Let's try this more kind of aggressive line of going wide and see how that serves us. So we're just going to punch for 4 here. We're obviously not going to attack here because I want this to live. And then we're going to Hidden Hunters, buff them both. Or rather, stealth them both, because they only get the buff temporarily. There is a little anti-synergy with the fact that it buffs and stealths the melee, because obviously, after you attack with stealth now, the stealth falls off. So, it is like a little bit of an awkward combination. Okay. Okay, and there's the Predator Annihilator. So, okay, they're going to take out both of our Crude Hounds. It's not great for us, but honestly, it's also not the end of the world. We do have the Rampager to answer. It's tough. I mean, when you see a 4 energy predator or 5 energy, it's going to be an uphill battle. So what can we do? I think the best thing we can do is we know we can pretty much kill this with Rampager next turn. They might be able to set up some defense, so I could consider chipping in for 2 damage here, but I think I really need to keep my life total high. So I think I'm just going to take advantage of my ability this turn, play another Crude Hound, buff these so that these will eat the Predator procs, and then the question is, do I attack? And I think, even though we still have this to deal with, we're going to take care of it next turn. It is going to trade on us, though, if they double Codex. But we also need to be closing out the game. But also, yeah, this is a tough call. I think we're just passing the turn here. If they have Tech Marine, we get kind of blown out, so I could trade some health. But again, with this kind of, rapid deployment plus high factory, like, you're going to have to get lucky to win this. Okay, well, that's going to make this a lot harder since we're not going to be able to get to the Predator yet. So we may have to rethink our options here. Most decks are not running Judiciary, so that's... But I could see why that's been adapted to protect the old Predator. So what can we do here? We can pump this. I mean, we can clear this if we take some damage to the face. So we are going to take some damage, but then I could play Crew Talks, and then I could stealth. I don't really want to run the Rampager in here. I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity. So deal 2, but then we take 5 to the face. That's rough. But that maybe saves us a bit of life too. 7, 8, 9. All right, we're gonna try this. I mean, I don't love this, but we gotta do what we gotta do to hang in here. And maybe this will eat, a little bit of damage for us. But yeah, I think we'll start, into more of the high roll Ultramarine stuff. Again, I think Anva probably has a little bit of a better shot, but we'll see if we can come back here. Generally, I've liked playing Anva into Ultramarines, so that's been kind of refreshing. But with Warshaper, it's definitely a bit more fragile, and I think I'm going to have to play the matchup quite a bit more to really try and maximize. Yeah, I think this makes sense. This is definitely going to be dying. So now we're obviously very low on health. Okay, Supremacy. Kind of happy to not see like another tank here or something. Okay, so that's double Codex. So we're going to go to 12. All right. We're not dead. is I guess what we can say about that. And we do have some action. So it's really going to come down to... what can we do? So Lone Spear almost gets there, actually. So, man, I really would love to play that here, because then if I did, I could play like Rampager plus like Stealth next turn. But we're probably just going to have to play Lone Strike anyway. So let's just play the Rampager. Take that out. We're not going to attack. And we're kind of just at the mercy of whatever threats they've got. Down on health, obviously, from the Predator, which is why it's so ridiculously strong. But, if it gets toned down a little bit, whether they knock down some of the damage or on the Codex, change the Codex, change the statting, I think Tau are going to be pretty potent in the next patch. All right. Well, I think just because it still just works out very well, and we do have the potential Lone Spear as an answer, I think it's just got to be Long Strike here. It's such a clean answer. kills that. Question is, do I knock the shield off? They've used Codex Discipline and they use Tac Insight. So there's only one Tac Insight, but I think they've drawn at least an extra one. But I do want to be able to pressure their life total. So, yeah. I think I want to take the shield off there. Try and set up into our next couple turns. But I will say sometimes if you just like curve out like we did and they don't have the Predator, right? Like we were just going to smack them for, I think it would have been 10. Let's do so 13. Like we really would have pulled ahead with the line that we had. So, okay. Yep. Yeah. Is what it is. Trade. Probably hit us. Yep. Makes sense. But we can pump this. To be able to... Oh, no, that's not going to be able to clear. So pump it to 7. It deals 6. And then I have to attack and take 4. I get a 5. But there's no other line, I don't think. So, yeah. Is what it is. We're extremely low, so we're pretty much dead to anything. They could even use their ability to shock us, see how low we go, and then do something else. But, you know, this is a pretty high roll-ish game for Ultramarines, so the fact that we're like not just getting like completely bowled over is I think a sign that, you know, if you've got the right flank threats, like having Rampager into Lone Spear into, yeah, gonna go for the smite, see if they can kill me. Oh, okay. And then they high roll the 3. Yep. GG's. Honestly, not that bad considering how many flankers we had, and even though we were able to answer some of their threats, but that's how it's gonna be sometimes. Let's just get back in there, see if we can snag us a win here. But I'm just going to post the 3 matches that I play. Sometimes I'll skip certain matches, sometimes I'll highlight different ones, but just want to give you guys like the most kind of honest experience with this this Warlord. All right, when we get the rematch, Pathfinder, I just, you know, doesn't really matter early. Yeah, Anshi doesn't either. I'll keep the Carnivore, though. That's something I can play and replay. And, yeah. Not going to take Bombardment. Oh, look. I feel like we played often in my videos recently. Yeah, so this is... I can obviously just hit and smack. I can just play Carnivore again. Kind of feels like it does the same thing, although this opens us up into like a flank card. I guess we just play out the card. Obviously we get a copy of it, so it's not like we have to think that hard. But so we're probably just going to be spamming this for the early turns because we have nothing else to do. Don't love the double Firesight Marksman. It's not terribly helpful in this matchup. Just because I'd rather have the big flanky boys. Yep, and same deal. Play this guy. Attack. And then we'll kind of see how they develop. Yep, there's the Supremacy. So I'm just going to keep doing this, except this time when we actually start getting the benefit of the buff. Pump this to 3, pump me to 3, gain a health. Getting some decent chip damage, but obviously with Supremacy, Predator can be online with deployment next turn if they've got it. And we don't have an answer currently, so it's game me. Okay, yeah. Okay. It's not great for us, but not the scariest thing. Don't have a clean answer to this turn. I don't think this is 2. Put this to 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so now I got to think about sequencing here. Well, we can mark this for 2, shoot it, take 5, it deals 4, and then pick it off with Onslaught. That's probably good enough. Otherwise, they're gonna get Codex and everything. I mean, Hailstrike you really, I don't think, can afford to let live most of the time. And then we'll pick it off here. Oh no, we can even better. Do that. Now I've got some stuff on board to maybe benefit from our ability if they don't have a, you know, big dumb tank here. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we also get a non-Ultramarine matchup, just so you guys can see it. Like, we played into Sisters a couple times, and like, to be fair to Sisters, right, they're kind of the least competitive. Like, or I shouldn't say least competitive. They're one of the less competitive warlords. Also, they need setup and stuff, so I think our aggro kind of works really nicely into what they're doing. All right, so this is an opportunity for us to try and start setting up, right? Because they just play the bike and use their ability. Probably seeing Predator next turn, right? Because they Supremacied. So we could just play Marksman, which doesn't die to Predator. We could go just double Carnivore buff, and the Carnivores will take the hits. I think I like that better. Either way, we're going to be in trouble when it hits the board. But I think this way, like these are not cards I care about. So we just get to kind of take advantage of this. And if they don't have a clean way to clear these out, it's kind of annoying for them. Got the Lone Spear next turn. But yeah, I'm wondering, like, probably Lone Spear will be fine by itself if they don't have, if Predator gets nerfed. Okay. Yeah, I think I prefer this. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to trade some health here to get rid of the Storm Talon, which is a little rougher for us, for sure. So obviously we can punch for 8, and then we take 6 down to 12. It's pretty rough. We can also mark a light for 3, so that deals 5. And then kind of do the same thing and hold the Lone Spear. Thing is, we can't give this flag next turn unless we're trading. Honestly, I still think I like this better. This might get us a little bit more value. Yeah. Trade a little bit of health. Onslaught. We'll see. I mean, Lone Spear kind of does the same thing, and then next turn we could Marksman plus Onslaught. I don't know. My kind of reasoning there is like, if this unit gets any advantage to stick on board, I would prefer that. Whereas this, whatever, it's probably going to die. And being able to use my Warlord plus a cheaper card to take out the helicopter, that's not bad. Okay, well, Librarian's good. Definitely not the end of the world. Speaking of, now we have our answer. This became a little bit awkward, though. So we can mark this, but then that's only 7. Which is actually super awkward. We could also play this and just straight up trade and buff. Could play Fleshaper like Fleshaper Stealth. No, it's not gonna work. To 4, and I can't really afford to take 8. I think I actually just have to send this in, which definitely sucks, but I don't think there's a better answer. And then I think we're going to Grizzly Feast instead of playing the Stealth Drone. Yeah. Get a little bit of damage. Alright. See. Okay, there's a Predator. Yeah. Yeah, this... Oh, it's so tough. It's so tough to have to battle through all these things. But it is winnable. That's the thing. I mean, this shield actually is a huge problem. So I don't think I can beat that. Yeah, literally... Well, hold on. Attacking for 4, I gotta... Well, yeah, I gotta 1, and then I can marker light it. Yeah. There's no other way to do this. Too low. Yep. Yep. Unfortunate. Gotta be honest, having the double marksman in our hand instead of like other flankers just put us pretty far behind in our life total. But yeah, that's and I think that's going to be a bit of the weakness of Warshaper. If we have 5 extra health, that game is potentially salvageable. Same with the first one. So, all right. Well, my prayers were answered here, and we're gonna get what I would say feels like a good matchup. Also, this is pretty solid. I might throw the Pulse Onslaught back though. I'm not. I kind of just want to use our units here. Sure. And yes, so I'll take the extra card. Ooh, that's a cool. I don't think I've seen that avatar. All right. Yeah. And let's just get in there for 3. Then we'll just try and do our little curve here. I would say against Ultramarines, if you have Dispensation in your hand, your win rate probably goes up like 5%. It's just such a good way to combat what they're doing. Okay, so probably just going to run out the Stingwings and not attack, because I want to prevent the Faith if I can. To be fair, like, Junith really only cares about being on 4 Faith, but keeping them under 2 means that they're not going to have blanking on the 4-drop. But the 4-drop that deals 3 damage, then that's kind of shut off. So keeping them off that breakpoint is pretty good. And then there's no reason to attack here because they get to double heal this. So we'll just keep it moving after that. Oh, do they have a way to kill this? Or they're just going for the damage. Okay. That's honestly fine. Okay. Yeah, so this turn, now we get to start kind of getting ahead. So I can obviously pick off this one and then attack here and pick off that. And there's no praying happening. So that's kind of like the time to answer what they're doing. Get to see the Crutox Rider. Just love the stats on this card. Just really, just like a little beefy unit that punches a little bit. Okay. Yep, so they're going to be turned. They're online, shall we say? But we have a jeez, can't talk. I'm like cutting myself off here. Just so excited. All right, can play Run Out Devilfish. We could also play Crude Hound and buff the whole board. Generally, this is pretty hard for them to deal with. Obviously, they could use the removal spell. If they have Flanker, that attacks for 5. So they could have Flanker plus that. I think it's close, because also the Flame thing does quite a bit of work. So I think I'm just going to slam the Devilfish. And I'm not going to attack with this, although it could die to like flames. I kind of want to leave it on the board to be able to hit something else. But so if they don't have an answer to Devilfish, we're going to get ahead. Is what I'm thinking. And since they don't have a board, I probably just run this out. Okay, well, Flagellant might be able to clean things up here. See what their follow. Okay, Malia. Yep, that's good. Yep, and then they clear Krutox. It's pretty good. I think we're just gonna go with Pathfinder here. A nice turn for it, so just gonna pick that off myself. And I'm just gonna play double marker drone because get that free value. Be pretty happy here. Next turn we can go Hound, buff everything, and Greater Good. So that... Oh, okay. Well, another Flatulence. Yeah. And then Lead the Righteous. Okay, well we can kind of like chip away at their defense here if we can get to this. Which we might not be able to. Interesting. Got the Trail Shaper 2. So we could play Marksman to be able to pick this off. Right, so Marksman marks this for 3, and then just... What is it? This picks that off. Deal 1 to everything, then I can pick this off. So I think I should Pulse Onslaught this first. And then play Marksman. I think that makes the most sense. I'll get hit for a little bit. Can actually pick this off with 1, 2. So we have that option as well. And then we could just play out the Crude Hounds and buff. Huh. These can kind of deal with the Crude Hounds. It's just a matter of... I feel like this plays a little bit better. And then that has a mark on it, so I'll just kill that one. I think I like that a little bit better than the Hounds, because we get punished by the Flame card pretty well. The best thing I could do is like put a Stealther in between both Crude Hounds to try and save one of them. Conviction. Okay, so this is going to be our setup turn. This is a good Greater Good turn because we can't really do much into what they have, right? It's not really doesn't really buy us anything. Could also play a Long Strike though and still kill their sisters, but I think I prefer to do that next turn. I think we should just set up this turn. So no matter where these go, I guess we'll just put the Crude Hounds here, and then we just, I think it's buff everything. We'll stop the prayer, probably just attack. Yeah, I was thinking I could Trail Shaper this back, but yeah, no. We just do this. Buff. Greater Good, so we don't take too much damage. Stop the prayer. Not that it matters that much, but keeping them off 6 means that they don't get that huge buff. They are going to get that Vanguard unit because I can't clear this. For anything, I can take the shield off here. Probably worth it. Okay. So they'll get the Vanguard unit. Blade of Faith. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, this is pretty scary though. We weren't able to really out aggress them this game, so might lose this as well. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, we might need to trade. So if we trade both of our hounds to this, and then we play Lone Spear. And then we hit here, I guess. It ain't great, I'll tell you that. Take this off. And then we go here. See if we can hang in there. Lone Spear should do a good bit of work. But if they have the... Okay. Start going face now. They've got the heal, like, +1 to everything. I guess they would have done it. But looks like they might just have enough to burn me out. Yep. Spirit of the Martyr. Yeah, that's a good one. Plus expensive. Wow. Well played. Well played. Alright. Let's maybe do one more. See if we can get there. Opponents have had good setups so far. See if we can get a little bit of an advantage. All right, well, this is a matchup that I sort of foresaw being terrible for us, so I'm not sure how well we're going to do. But I guess we'll see. Yeah, I think it's just Maul here. Stingwing should be pretty helpful. Okay. Hoping to see the dispensation. Infestation... Yeah, honestly, I think in this particular matchup, that probably helps us a little bit. See what we can do here. And I don't think I'm trading health at all. I think I'm just going to heal myself. And keep pushing. They take one. Oh, nice. Okay. Thought we were fully going to get that disconnect, which would have been annoying. Well, so far everyone probably is like, well, this deck is terrible. I mean, I think it's hard. I think it's hard to do what we need to do at certain times. Speaking of that, actually I think we just need to pulse onslaught and attack here. So that they don't get too far ahead in tempo. But yeah, I anticipate that this matchup is not great. For Anva, I think it's probably solid. But having the health deficit and then kind of being more aggro slanted, not really something that you're super happy about. I think it's just going to be dispensation here. Interesting. Trail Shipper for 1. Or we can play Crude Hound for 1. Guess if we have to pick something we're playing this turn, might as well do that. Or play for 0, rather. Yeah, we'll just chill. So they had nothing on 3, so they just got a hand of like 4s and 5s. Alright, I'm pretty happy to see this, I gotta be honest. Nothing else to do. That's fine. Not the bad. Also, I don't know how much of them, are running like Rapacious Hunger and stuff like that. God, this I think is close, but I think I do want to play Devilfish. It's really tempting to go Crude Hound and then Grizzly Feast. But again, this just gives things flank, and that's just pretty ideal. And they're taking 1 damage, even though we're not attacking, so not the worst. If they've Venom Throat, that would suck. But other than that, I feel like we're okay. Death Leaper, okay. This is a different builds. Usually don't see the big stealthers. Not good for us. So we don't really have a way to... And as I say that, we do have a way to protect ourselves. And I think that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay. Let us play our turn, please. Okay. And I think the way we do it is this. So we could pump. The other option is we could play Pathfinder as another Vanguard target. And I think I like that better. I think having 2 Vanguard targets that they have to chip through. And also it's another body that could potentially eat the stun proc. So, hit for 5. And that's all we're going to do, because we don't really need to trade health here. They're going to take the 1 from the infestation anyway. And then we're going to probably take 1 this following turn. But this is definitely where Honored Ethereal is great. Because just making them have to deal with Vanguard units is pretty annoying. Okay. Well, is what it is. They take 3. Take that out. Stun me. Can live with that for the most part. This is 3, 4, 5. Or 3, 6. So we still want to take advantage of this, that's for sure. So we actually might just have to swing here. Or we could swing here and play it, yeah. So let's go Crew down here. And then let's go Stingwing here. Loses flying. It doesn't really matter to me, I don't think. And then I think we're just going to hit here. Yeah. So putting up a pretty decent defense. Infestation's kind of biting us now, but I think it kept us closer in the life hunt for some of the awkward turns where they weren't able to develop as much. And then we can just sit there and develop, and still they take a little bit of chip damage. Can we get there? I don't know. They're thinking, so that's good for us, I would say. Okay, hard biology. That's fine. We'll probably just have to ignore the Hive Crone anyway and just like beat down. So, okay. What else you got? So I'm going to pump my guys and feast on your flesh. Yep. All right, nice. Yeah, their curve was not great. The curve was not great. That's what I'll say about that. All right, let's feast. GG's. All right, well, that's I guess going to be the video, folks. Just wanted to bring you kind of the raw playing with Warshaper. So I think it's fair to say that this is probably not my choice. It is not my choice for Tau for the end of this season. I'm definitely going to be playing Anva. I do love this deck, though. I do love Warshaper. conceptually and like the aggressive kind of bent to this. I just think my proposed changes would be first buff, make his ability 1. Make it 1 energy and maybe leave it at that. If you want to get a little spicier, I think if you don't want to buff his immediate health, then maybe change it to like +1 melee for the turn, +1 health to your warlord, and +1 health to all units. So then maybe you give him 2 health on it or something. Honestly, I would probably just say make it 1. And then, I don't know, like if you don't want to give him +5 health, then maybe you just got to find something else. Because I do think that it's a pretty big drawback. So there needs to be some sort of compensation, right? Yeah, this is the build. Probably needs some tuning, but I'm not going to lie. I felt like even in the games we lost, Pulse Onslaught was really helpful for trying to stabilize. It's also just going to be really good for for that game. If we draw a Pulse Onslaught, all we need is like my Warlord plus Onslaught to kill their Warlord. So, I've genuinely liked the way that it plays out. The win condition for this deck is obviously your opponent not having like high roll Ultramarine stuff all the time. That's number 1. But even so, if you're able to, without losing too much health, go like Rampager into Lone Spear into Long Strike, not going to happen every game, right? But in the games that you are hanging in there, you're maybe setting up your board, dealing with theirs, and then you just run out like 2 to 3 flankers back to back, you are going to be able to compete. Anva just does it, I think, more consistently and a little better, and also gives you a lot of flexibility in your matches. Warshaper is obviously very, very one-dimensional. But if it gets a little buff here, and maybe Ultramarines gets toned down a little bit, and we play around with the builds, I think that Warshaper could be competitive. But right now, I would put it kind of at tier 2.5, tier 3. I would probably put it a little bit under Junith and Erica. That's like kind of my benchmark, is for a deck that's like competitive, but like not gonna give you the win rate that you need. So I think Warshaper is there, or probably a little bit below. But still very fun to play, fun play style. If you love aggro, it's not a bad place to be. It's not going to give you the most competitive win rate if that's what you care about. So maybe don't fire it up if that's your goal. But that's what I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments of all the Tau stuff and what's been going on. We got a little bit more life in the game, I feel like. So there's that. But otherwise, I will just catch you guys either on stream or, as always, next time in the next video. So see you then.